Ladies and gentlemen, it's a big pleasure, honor, privilege to me to be asked by the Václav Havel Library, by Charter 77, to chair this very special part of today's conference concerning three human rights groups, activists, who from among 56 nominees at the very beginning, during the long process, long discussions, were finally considered as winners. Of course, there is the principal winner, who has been already presented, Mr. Mammadli, represented by the father, represented also by his organization. But all finalists of this prize, we should consider as winners. In fact, one can even say that these 56 nominated are in some sort of winners. If it depends on us, we probably need to give a certain human rights prize to every of them, because they have been really outstanding candidature for this prize. It shows also how important is this prize. 56. Last year it was 24 or 26. But of course it's not only the question of numbers, it's the question of the quality of human rights work which was presented to the selection panel on behalf of these two organizations and the Council of Europe. You can ask a question, why these winners? First of all, for us as a selection panel, the most important was a legacy of Václav Havel, outstanding work of these organizations. And having in mind that this prize is, as Mr. Janu indicated, it's a prize of a very special character, because probably this is the only prize given by intergovernmental organization as the Council of Europe and non-governmental body. The values of the Council of Europe, democracy, human rights, rule of law, which, as we know very well, has been missing in many parts of the world, in many parts of Europe, in many parts of the states being members of the Council of Europe. I don't want to mention these states by the names. Having in mind all that, I proposed that today, at the beginning of the conference, we will give the floor to three finalists. They will present themselves. They will present their work, of course, because of the time constraints, in a rather short manner, but they will have a personal opportunity to speak to you about their work at this room. They're coming from three different areas of human rights protection. When we speak about Mr. Mammadli, it's very much a question of keeping proper standards of a democratic process, free elections, pluralistic democracy. This is the center of what he has been sacrificing his life, and very much for that now being imprisoned by Azeri authorities. Our friends from Israel, they work in exceptionally difficult environments, in the context of ongoing, since a very long time, the problem between Israel and Palestinians, trying to find a way of extremely difficult reconciliation, but very much simply being objective monitors of all happenings there from the point of view of human rights standards. The organization from Malta, Jesuit Center, dealing with one of the most serious problems Europe faces now, the question of migrations to Europe from the south, probably because of difficult conflicts. These problems, unfortunately, but will be growing up. And in Malta, it happens, being on the Mediterranean Sea, is the frontline country also of the European Union facing this issue. And the question is of helping these escapees from very dangerous areas, refugees, and also, what is very important, dealing with local population, Maltese, making them understanding that their role, it happened because of the place in which they live, is to express their understanding, to express assistance to the people whose life have been in danger in their homes. I would like to invite first Mr. Mammadov and Mr. Mammadli to share with us your thoughts about the role which you play in the context of your country, in the context of human rights problems which currently the people in Azerbaijan faces.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity and thank organizers, Václav Havel Library, Charter 77, and of course the Parliament Assembly of the Council of Europe. And also I would like to say how proud I am to be part of this exceptional nominee panel, who are doing a great job in Malta and in Israel. And I also would like to deliver Anar's words, saying that this award is not only support to him personally and also his organization, but this is a support to all human rights defenders and political prisoners in Azerbaijan. A little bit about our organization, Election Monitoring and Democracy Studies Center. It is, in short, it's EMDS, and since 2003, the organization have been observing more than 13 elections and referendums held in Azerbaijan. The mission is very simple, as stated, holding free and fair elections toward the democratic society. And after the 2013 presidential elections, just several weeks after our report stating that gross violations took place in the presidential race, the Prosecutor General opened a criminal investigation into the affairs of the organization, which after several weeks of lengthy questioning resulted in Anar Mammadli's detention in December. And all of this culminated in May, right 2 weeks after Azerbaijan assumed the chairmanship of the Council of Europe, stating their commitment to human rights, rule of law, and democracy. And the court has sentenced Anar Mammadli to 5 years and 6 months in prison, and also Bashir Suleimanli, our executive director, to 3.5 years in prison. And the restrictions to the work of NGOs and the pressure on civil society continued after this, resulting in the arrests of even more prominent civil society leaders in July and August, namely Rasul Jafarov, Leyla Yunus, and Arif Yunus, as well as Intigam Aliyev, among many others. And these restrictions has started since 2011, when the Parliament adopted a new restrictions to the NGO law and the law on grants, making it almost impossible for civil society organizations to receive funding from international donors. And I should stress that the international funding is the only and sole source of funding for Azerbaijani NGOs. And today, with the recent several series of amendments, it is the NGOs in practice should register their grants at the Minister of Justice, which will then provide a letter that they can submit to the bank, and only after that banks would release their funding. And in the past 6 months, there has been a practice of, by the Minister of Justice, refusing submitting this letter, so NGOs are also actively deprived of the funding source. And at the moment, there are more than 98 political prisoners behind bars, ranging from opposition leaders, civil society leaders, to bloggers, journalists, and leaders of the religious groups. And we should also understand that this pressure on the civil society and the crackdown on dissent is not only directed to the NGOs, and is not only an attempt to silence last voices of the dissent in the country. It is also an attempt by the authorities to cut down the opportunity for international organizations and Western countries to influence the situation of democracy in Azerbaijan. Because in the last several years, civil society has been the only partner of the international community, and has been the only platform for international community to influence the democratization process. But I also would like to finish with the words of Anar Mammadli, who sent his letter from the prison, saying that the democratization movement in Azerbaijan may be slowed down. The human rights defenders may be put into prison, but it is a process that cannot be stopped or cannot be reversed, and the justice will prevail. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Now the turn is to our friends from B'Tselem organization. Please.
فازلاف هافل على هذه الورشة أو المؤتمر الذي نشارك فيه اليوم.
We would like to thank Mr. Havel Legacy for this conference here.
نحن كمنظمة لحقوق الإنسان نعمل في قطاع غزة في الأراضي المحتلة.
We as an organization, we work in Gaza, part of Palestine.
أنا اسمي محمد صباح، أعمل باحث ميداني في هذه المنظمة منذ 9 سنوات.
And my name is Muhammad Sabah. I'm working in this organization since 9 years already.
نحن نعمل في هذه المنظمة منذ 25 عاما.
We as an organization, we are on the field for 25 years already.
ونعمل على رصد وتوثيق انتهاكات حقوق الإنسان بحق الفلسطينيين.
We are monitoring the human rights in Palestine.
في قطاع غزة والضفة الغربية والقدس الشرقية.
In Gaza, in the West Bank, and in the Quds.
أنا في قطاع غزة أعمل بظروف جدا صعبة. يعيش حوالي 1,850,000 نسمة في حوالي 45 كيلومتر فقط.
My work conditions are very difficult in Gaza. There is 1,850,000 person on the part of 45 kilometers square kilometers.
أيضا قطاع غزة خلال 7 سنوات تعرض إلى 3 حروب من قبل إسرائيل.
And also there was 3 wars to Palestinians from the part of Israel.
وقتل فيه أكثر من 3,500 شخص.
And there was 3,500 dead persons of the Palestinian people.
طبعا فرض حصار على القطاع منذ حوالي 7 سنوات أيضا.
And there was a block on the Palestine people from 7 years, since 7 years already.
وقبل حوالي شهرين كمان تعرض قطاع غزة إلى عملية عسكرية كبيرة من قبل إسرائيل.
And also from 2 months ago there was a big operation, army operation from Israeli part on Palestine.
وقد قتل فيه حوالي 2,200 شخص معظمهم من الأطفال والنساء.
And with this operation there was 1,200 person dying. Among them there are women and children.
أيضا هذه العملية العسكرية خلفت هدم حوالي 1,500 بيت.
And the houses of these people are also broken.
و3,500 بيت بشكل جزئي.
And 3,500 of houses of the Palestinian people are partly broken.
وأيضا أدى ذلك إلى يعني قطاع غزة تأتيه الكهرباء لمدة 4 إلى 5 ساعات في اليوم الواحد.
And there are some energy cuts in the houses of Palestinian people that are disturbing our lives.
وأيضا هناك تلوث في مياه الشرب.
And the pollution of the water, drinking water, is great in the place.
حيث يعيش سكان القطاع يعني صعوبات كبيرة بسبب الاحتلال وبسبب الحصار المفروض على القطاع منذ أكثر من 7 سنوات.
So the conditions in which these people are living are very terrible. You can't even imagine it.
وحتى حرية الحركة ممنوعة بسبب الإجراءات الإسرائيلية التي تقوم بها على المعابر.
And the movement of the place out and in is very difficult also. So these people are not having the rights.
حتى أنا الذي أعمل في منظمة بيت سالم لم أتمكن منذ 9 سنوات من الوصول إلى مكتبي في القدس.
So even me, working in this organization of Beit Salem, I couldn't go for 9 years out of the place as I needed to do for my work.
وذلك بسبب الإجراءات الإسرائيلية والمنع الإسرائيلي.
Well, this comes to the decision of the Israelis.
أود أن أقول لكم أن قطاع غزة يعيش في أزمة كبيرة بسبب الحصار، بسبب انقطاع الكهرباء، بسبب عدم قدرة الناس على الحركة أو السفر. حتى أنا عندما وصلت إلى ستراسبورغ في فرنسا كان لي 3 أيام سفر حتى وصلت ستراسبورغ.
So I have to emphasize that the living conditions in Gaza part are so difficult that even for me to get to Strasbourg took me 3 days of asking all the authorities to come to the place. 3 days.
نعم. لهذا نحن بحاجة إلى عمل كبير من أجل وقف انتهاكات حقوق الإنسان في قطاع غزة، بحاجة إلى يعني وقوف المجتمع الدولي ضد الإجراءات الإسرائيلية من أجل نيل سكان قطاع غزة الحرية والتمتع بالسلام وأن ينعموا بالأمن والاستقرار.
So we are asking the international organizations and all the civic organizations to help us to get our human rights, so the living in Gaza part will be bearable for some long time and not for periods of time only.
شكرا لكم.
And thank you for the support.
And now our friend from Malta.
Good morning. I'll start with a word of introduction about JRS, the Jesuit Refugee Service. For those of you who don't know the organization, JRS is an international non-governmental organization which has a mission to accompany, serve, and defend refugees and forcibly displaced people. The organization is directed to go where the need is greatest and where no one else is working, and focuses primarily on being with rather than doing for. And it's these principles, these characteristics, which should determine what we do and how we do it. And hopefully they do. In Malta, JRS was set up in 1993. And my journey with JRS started in 1996 when I joined the organization as a volunteer. I have been working within the organization formally since 1999. When I started working with JRS, most of our clients were living in the community. But in 2002, that changed completely, because for those of you who don't know, in 2002, Malta started to receive relatively large numbers of asylum seekers arriving by boat from Libya. Not Libyans, mostly sub-Saharan Africans, but they transited through Libya and crossed the Mediterranean, reaching Malta from there. I say relatively large numbers because every year we had an average of 1,500 to 2,000 arrivals, which in absolute terms is not much, but for a rock the size of Malta is a considerable number of people. The first boat arrivals brought about a big change in our work, because for the first time we had very large numbers of people stuck in detention, and the people in detention weren't men, as they were before, who were there for a relatively short period of time. They were men, women, and children. We had families in the initial years who were in detention for almost 2 years. You had families, 4, 5 families living in a room which is not even as big as this stage. Children for a long time didn't go to school, and when they did, they went to school and came back to a detention center. People with nothing to do all day and no prospect of any certain future. So at that point, believing that the people in detention, where the services were extremely, extremely limited, needed services more than people outside, we shifted our focus to detention. And slowly we expanded our services. Today, in addition to legal services and information to new arrivals, we provide psychosocial support, social worker, psychologist, and the assistance of a nurse, and we also provide pastoral care. But more than what we do for people, I think we prioritize actually visiting regularly and being with people, because often there's nothing we can offer. But we believe that by being there, at least we show that people are not forgotten. Over the years, in addition to offering services, we documented what was happening in detention, the conditions, the policy, the law, and how it impacted on people. And we advocated for a change in detention policy. And today, after many long years, we're finally seeing results. We did this in many ways, by reporting, by trying to dialogue with the government, and by assisting asylum seekers to challenge their detention. And today, finally, we're seeing some changes. Over time, no, we have seen changes, but it's been slow. In conclusion, it's, from a more personal perspective, for me, it is work that I have been doing for a long time. It's work I love doing, but it's also work that can be very challenging and very painful. Painful, not so much because we work for people who are unpopular, and perhaps we become unpopular as well, but because we daily come in contact with very great suffering. People who have suffered massive violations of human rights in their country, on the journey, who have often lost everyone on their way to Malta, and who then find themselves in detention. So sometimes it's very difficult to just sit there and have to empathize but do nothing about, be able to do so little about the individual's frustration and pain. At the same time, I have to say, it's also work that brings me in touch with huge reservoirs of strength and resilience and courage and hope. Hope in the people we serve, but also in the people we work with, the other NGOs, and I think it's this that keeps us going, as do the little victories and the difference that we make in the lives of people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all these interventions. We have still some time, and I would propose, if from the audience there are any questions to our winners of the prize, you have an opportunity, and we can have still spent 10-15 minutes on such questions, if there are any. If not, on behalf of the selection panel, I would like again to thank all of you for your outstanding work, also for coming here. And I wish you continue, because in our understanding there is a great need of the continuation in your respective countries, with the problems you deal with, and I think us as a selection panel, through these nominations, we were able to send a very strong message to governments, also to the public opinion around the world, that, let's say, human rights society is still, notwithstanding all difficulties, strong enough to fight for human rights standards, for human rights values, and the fight will be continued. Thank you very much.